Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with Terry McBride, the one and only TMcB, as we get ready for wall-to-wall baseball on Wednesday, August 19th. Terry, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, my friend. It's nice to be able to access my FanDuel account again. Was actually able to play some lineups today for a change. It's great getting back into the swing of things.
Is it now merged with your betting lineup? Is that what they were doing, or do you have any
Apparently, that
idea?
was apparently from what I hear, that was the culprit. Was they decided without asking or doing anything to merge the accounts, sportsbook and DFS. So they'll tempt people to start spending their DFS money on sports bets, which from their end makes sense. But I don't know. For me, it's weird to do a scheduled maintenance in the middle of the afternoon when a lot of people are going to be trying to access your site, and it's weird to change people's passwords without asking them. If you're listening out there, FanDuel, that's what I think.
All right.
But we're back.
Well, it is 2020. The weirdness happens, and that's just the way it's going to be this year, unfortunately. We've got a few slates, so let's before we get to our housekeeping, we're just going to jump in on our first one here. So we're going to follow DraftKings. There are two double headers. DraftKings is actually including one of them in their early slate. They are going with the two 1 o'clock games, as well as the first game of the doubleheader between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. We want to bring that up because that's going to be the best pitchers of the six we're going to talk about here. So our full slate there is going to be John Flaherty, Alec Mills, Tanner Roark, uh, Tommy Malone, Jake Arrieta, and Kyle Hart. Ouch. Let's talk about them in that order. Flaherty is 9,700. Now, the reason I'm okay playing him in the doubleheader is his only start this year. Remember, the Cardinals were off for 16 days for preventative COVID-related safety. He has one start. He actually did go 7 innings, 89 pitches. That was back on July 24th. I'm hoping he gets 5. I'm hoping he can qualify for the win. Not an easy opponent, but when we look at the other turkeys, we'll go with that word. If we look at the other turkeys there on the slate, I don't want any part of them.
Yeah, totally with you there. I don't have this DK game in front of me. I didn't realize it was on the slate because it's weird to put 1 7 inning game with the other two. But like you said, it's by far the best pitchers that they're offering on this. So I guess I get it.
Well, I do have a little bit of the numbers here. So we've got Flaherty going back to the beginning of 2017, has a 3 ERA against lefties. That's a 4.1 whip, or pardon me, xFIP, which means he's been a little bit lucky. He has a 1 home run rate, and he's striking out 25.4% of the pitcher or the hitters. God, dyslexic is now with what I'm saying, not just what I'm looking at. Against righties, he is phenomenal. He allows a little more power, 1.2 home runs per 9, but has a 3 ERA, a 3 xFIP, 34% strikeout rate. So he's the guy we're going to want to go to. He is playing the Cubbies. The Cubbies are playing tonight. They got doubleheaders, obviously, as well. So we may or may not get a slightly watered down lineup, depending on who's going to play both games, who's just going to play one, who gets the night game. Maybe it's the younger guys that get the morning game after the night game, etc. But he's the main guy, and he has pretty much the best numbers in most categories on the slate. So.
Yeah, and look, we're paying for that 30% overall strikeout rate that he's got since coming into the league. I mean, this is just an absolute ace of a pitcher. So we know what we're getting here. We're paying for the known commodity. Hopefully, it puts up the innings. We know there's bats in that Cubbies lineup, but hopefully, like you said, he gets the watered down afternoon lineup in the 7-game doubleheader. I think you've got a great shot of getting a complete game out of him here, even against a tough lineup. Over just a 7-game, you get that complete game bonuses in play for DK too. So I love the play. I think he's definitely the go-to across the boards for DraftKings lineups for sure.
Yep. And then Alec Mills is the other guy. He has gone 80, 98, and 77 pitches in his 3 starts. He has been relatively solid, actually borderline really good. 19 innings total, 14 strikeouts. Since the beginning of 2018, he does have nearly a 30% strikeout rate against righties, adequate against lefties. Nothing to really write home about at 20%. But he is going to be your number 2 pitcher. And the Cardinals, their lineup is sort of catch as catch can. Now we haven't seen them again. They played they'll play 7 games in like 4 days or something crazy like that. But this is one of those oddities where I'm not really that worried about going against the Cardinals. So if you pair these, or if you're playing this slate, I'd probably pair those guys. I don't know if I'm going to play this slate. I normally play all the slates. I'll probably talk myself into it, but this is going to start around the same time as NBA. And then, of course, we've got NHL. So I may actually just sit this slate out.
Yeah, and that's probably a good move. I mean, with something as weird as a slate like this, it makes sense to just sit things out, especially when you don't have a good read, don't have a good feel, not comfortable. The one thing I would say there is, since it is locking around that same time, we maybe keep an eye for overlay and things like we normally monitor with tournaments. If it's looking good, maybe we jump in with a few lineups. But yeah, I'm with you on those two pitchers really being the quality here. Just, you play DK more than I do. You play two pitcher sites more than I do. Just as a philosophy, how do you feel when you have to play two pitchers from the same game like that? Is that something you try and avoid doing generally? Is it something you don't mind?
No, so I have zero issue against it at all. There's no worries whatsoever. And in normal times, this is not a normal year. This is 2020. I hope we go back to mostly the old normal at some point. But prior to the changes that we've seen in baseball this year, if you played both starting pitchers in a game, you had about a 35 to 40% chance of getting the win, even if you played both of them. Now that works because the average major league starter gets the win about 30 to 35% of the time. Mm-hmm. Why is that? You say, well, there's 2 starting pitchers in the game. They both can't get the win. And then the bullpen gets them because if there's a tie game, they're no longer the pitcher of record. If they're down, yada, yada, yada. So there's a lot of ways they won't get the win. So some people like say, oh, I'm going to box the win. I'm going to play both pitchers and I'll get the win. It's like, no, you really don't have mathematically that much more of a chance than just playing one. I mean, I guess it's 50% more, but it's still not. It's not even 50% total. Right. So it doesn't. So for me, it's never a concern from that standpoint. I don't try to go away from it. I just play the best pitchers. On the shorter slates, this is where I'll be out. I don't mind taking hitters against my guys. I just think, and if we didn't have basketball locking and I didn't have a day job and all that other stuff right around 1:00, I would be playing this slate. I'm just know how crazy it was today when I was trying to juggle work calls and do hockey and do baseball and do basketball. It's just a mess. So
sounds like a lot. All right, cool. That makes a lot of sense. And I like the call with the small slate, especially playing a couple, not minding at least getting a couple guys against your pitcher because you get to the bullpen on the back end of that. You never know where those hits are going to come from. If the guy puts up any scores, and it could be minor damage or the least damage that happens to any of the starters anyway. So
yeah, or you get the 1 or 2 home runs, and even if they do come off your pitcher, fine. No other batters are going to do better. There's a lot of people will tell you how to find, and this goes on to the late slates and the turbo slates and all that. People will tell you, oh, it's not the optimal lineup. No, it's not. But in baseball, what is the optimal line with the variance that it carries? So, it's we see craziness on the shorter the slate. This is where we get into, for those of you that like the football, we have seen, the Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay onslaught going against the opposing defense be just fine because the opposing defense scores a return touchdown against him. So
when he throws 3 touchdowns to each team, it works out.
Right. So again, this weird stuff happens. So that's just sort of the take on that. Now on to the main slate. Can we say hello Ace Day, or as close as we've come to Ace Day in feeling since the opening slate? I'm going to turn it over to you. You're wearing your Yankees cap. We've got Garrett Cole. We've got Tyler Glasnow. Cole 11,000 on DK. Glasnow 8,800. What do you want to do here, Terry?
So the Rays are lighting up my poor boy Masahiro Tanaka tonight, but I like Garrett Cole's chances tomorrow. This is a pitcher I love to get to, and I'll pay anything for. He's 10-9 on FanDuel, so he's right there, same price basically both sites. But he's just an absolute ace. He's a killer. He's a guy, like I said, he'll always stick him in. 27.7% strikeout rate for his career, 6.5% walk, so he doesn't walk too many guys. 0.88 home runs per 9 over his career. It was 1-2-3 coming to the Bronx for the first time last year, but same stuff, same pitch mix, nothing to worry about there. uses his 96-mile-an-hour four-seamer 60% of the time, throws an 86-mile-an-hour slider that he gets throws 23% of the time, 30% whiff rate on that. Just killer pitch. Throws a 15% mix of curveball, changeup that are both very, very high-end pitches. So love the spot for him here. He's my second highest projected pitcher on FanDuel. I think he puts up a very nice strikeout game against these Rays. There's a ton of strikeouts in that lineup. A lot of very good hitters, but it's not a lineup that I fear against Cole. So I think it's a great spot. I think we're going to see a pitcher's duel pretty much throughout in this one. Glasnow on the other side. I love the price on Glasnow on FanDuel. He's only $8K, 9,100 on DraftKings. Little tougher to get to. Do you have his pitch count? Recent pitch count?
It's reverse chronological order. 84 against Boston in his last start. Did give up 5 earned runs, no home runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Time before that against the Yankees, 71. He had 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, allowed 1 home run. Time before that, 88 against Baltimore, 5 strikeouts, 1 home run allowed. And then his first game was against Atlanta, 72, 1 home run allowed, 9 strikeouts. So the point being, strikeouts are kind of there. 88 seems reasonable for a price on DK, and you're hoping for strikeout per let me see, what is his overall number? So his overall numbers on the season: 15 and a third innings, 27 strikeouts. So he's getting about
37% strikeout. Yeah,
like 1.7.
Walking a few too many so far, 13.7. But I mean, that's a very small sample, 15 inning sample. So I was interested in the pitch count just because it seems like FanDuel is giving a bit of a pitch count discount on a guy who probably shouldn't get it. Only 8K for Glasnow is very, very inexpensive over there. I feel like they're thinking he's only going to throw 60, 70 pitches here. So yeah, I think we could get a decent sneaky start out of Glasnow. There are enough strikeouts in that Yankee lineup, even though, as we've said a few times, Judge and Stanton aren't in there. You still get a number of guys that strike out in the mid-20s. There's a couple more patient guys toward the back end but they're slap hitter type of guys like Thairo Estrada that we don't really worry about. Miguel Andujar back in this lineup is a more patient hitter who could get to him, but he's also not really there right now. He's kind of scuffling right now. So I like the spot for Glasnow. Even on DK at 91, I think we can pay up there and keep an eye on the ownership, keep an eye on where he ranks in the top stacks tool, but could be a very good spot.
All right, before we get to our next game, I want to tell you guys about an amazing promo we have. This is in honor of Kobe Bryant. Promo code is MAMBA, M-A-M-B-A. This is for the NBA playoffs. We are offering a weekly pass right now for $8.24. Get that? $8.24. That offer is valid through Mamba Day, which is 8/24. Again, Kobe's numbers. So check that out. That is again, this works out to about $1 a day, and that is the basketball weekly pass. Jump on that now. We're going to have 4 games per day until we get to the end of these series, but that's going to take us through the weekend, and then we've got to have teams sweep before we start losing series. Guess what? Milwaukee is not going to sweep Orlando after today's game. So just throwing it out there that we could have a little more 4-day games than a lot of people were thinking. So jump in there. It's one of the best deals we have. You get the ownership projections, you get the player projections, you get all the good stuff. And it's well worth it for basketball. And it's a lot of fun now because we know who's going to play for the most part. There are no injuries. We're out of this mess from the bubble. We're resting guys till we get to the playoffs. This is it. Best of 7s or you go home. So there we are. Promo code MAMBA, half off. All right. The next game we have is that sheet not working? Let's go over here. We've got Pittsburgh hosting Cleveland. We have Aaron Savale going against Steven Brault. Now, Brault has basically worked as an opener. He is still 6,400 on DK. He's gone 26, 32, 35, and 37 pitches. I'm really not that interested in him at this price. We have, I think it's 11 games on this slate. So we're going to have a lot of pitching. He might be a 5% guy, but that's a lot of salary that we're earmarking it to. And if memory serves, it feels like, is it? Oh, it is. It's a Coors Field day. So I'm going to probably be going elsewhere, but I get that's why I might have a little bit there. Aaron Savale, kind of interesting here. 9,800. Does that scare people away? I hope so. 96, 97, 106, and 100 pitches. He's locked and loaded and in midseason form. What do you like from these guys?
Yeah, I agree. I think Savale looks great. I hope that price tag does keep people away. 9,500 on FanDuel, so I think that's a good spot where we might be able to pay up, be a little contrarian at pitcher. Hopefully, the pricing keeps people off of him. Not killer name recognition for the guy. He's still a guy that I look at and I get confused with Plutko and 9 other guys in their rotation and just have to remember who the good ones are. So I like Savale a lot here. 21.9% career strikeout, 5.8% walk. Only 0.76 home run per nine in his 82 inning sample. It's not a huge sample, of course, but he's a kid just starting out. 30% cutters, sinker 27% of the time, slider curveball mix of 15%. He's currently sitting 74th percentile in xWOBA, 55th in x slugging, 53rd in exit velocity, 55th in hard hits. So around league average in some of those contact categories. Pretty good in xWOBA. Really like the stuff, getting good whiff rates on his cutter, his changeup. So I like the pitcher. I think he can put up a nice game. There's a reasonable amount of strikeouts in this Pirates lineup. They're not the biggest free swinging team in the world, but they're also not the scariest offense in the world. So even if he doesn't have a monster strikeout game for us here, I think he gets through a number of innings. I think he puts up a very good start here. So yeah, I think we can get to Savale for sure here. Brault on the other side, definitely not for me. 5,600 on FanDuel doesn't do anything for me. I don't really care about the savings with everybody basically being free. And there's as an opener and not much point to him over there. He said after his ugly relief outing that he had some mechanical issues that he wanted to work out. His career 18.8% strikeout, 11.5 walks, so very ugly on the walks. He's sitting 28th percentile in xWOBA this year, 30th in hard hit. Just not a pitcher we like to get to. Works around 93, has a slider changeup mix that he mixes in that don't really have enough differential from his mediocre fastball. So just not a pitcher that I like here. I think we could probably get to some Indians bats, exploit those bats that we like. They're still inexpensive. They still have that around the horn that we like up at the top with all those patient hitters. A lot of power in Franmil, some mix and match in the back end with Naquin Santana type guys. But yeah, like the spot for the Indians.
Yep. It's going to be in the mid 70s at first pitch, and there's a 4 implied run total for Pittsburgh. On to the next one here. Miami is hosting Jake DeGrom. Jake DeGrom is 11,800 here on DK. He has gone 98, 104, 88, and 72 pitches. His last outing was against these Marlins. He went 5 innings, allowed 7 hits, 2 walks, 1 home run, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. Kind of a meh outing, but I'm willing to go back to him again. As I did mention, we do have Coors Field on the slate, but there's some pitching choices here, and this will make the slate fun. On the other side, you have Pablo Lopez. Rather interesting price point for him, 7,200. He has gone 88, 80, and 61 pitches. I'm a little concerned about the Mets offense, but I will have some Pablo Lopez for that price point and 2.5 times the pitch count that Steven Brault has.
Yeah, I like that price and that pitcher a lot better in that comparison there. 8,300 on FanDuel. You're getting into the steep range for a Pablo Lopez. I might roll some out. It's definitely very dependent on what Alex sees with him. I get a pretty okay projection for him. He's not like a top guy, but against this Mets offense, I was actually surprised to see it where it is. So I'll be curious to see how he ranks out for Alex. I'll be curious once the final implied run totals are in tomorrow and everything, where that lands. But he's a pitcher I don't hate. He's 20.4% strikeout for his career, limits the home runs to a decent amount. He's relying on his changeup this year, his plus changeup that he's throwing a ton. And he's got a 166 xWOBA on the pitch. So it's a very, very good pitch for him that he's been working into his repertoire a lot more this year. But really, that's what he's relying on. I like this Mets offense better than I like that pitcher, so I think that I lean more into that side of things. I expect them to be popular again. They've been one of the top-ranked teams the past couple of days. I think they're going to be up there again in the stacks tool. So I would lean more into the Mets, but I might have some Pablo. Definitely like the Pablo play better on DK, like you said. DeGrom, I will pay any price for. Ace of Aces, one of the best pitchers in the league. Not much to really say there against an offense like this. Absolutely, just lock and load and don't worry about it. By far, my highest projected pitcher on FanDuel. So much so that I want to look at it and figure out why it's broken because it's too high. So I think I'm probably just pulling a big innings projection for him there that I'll have to fix manually. But even when I bring it down, it'll still be probably 10 points higher than the next closest guy. I love this spot for Jake DeGrom. Hit it hard.
And then the only bit of concern we have for him is he missed his last start with neck stiffness, but he did. Let's see, was a late scratch last Friday. or on Friday, through a bullpen session Monday, says he's good to go. So
yeah, and the local
I feel
papers over here said he was, came out of that feeling fine and nothing to worry about. They always say that when the pitcher has that kind of a thing, so take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, you're talking about a guy before that he hit 101 with his fastball, a couple weeks ago, highest velo he has ever hit, averaging 98 with his fastball, throwing it 41% of the time. 93-mile-an-hour slider. His changeup is 91 miles an hour. So it's a huge differential, but it's still coming in like a lot of these other guys we're talking about fastball. So great swing and miss on those pitches. 100th percentile in fastball velo this year, which whenever anybody's the bottom 1 or the top 100, I love calling it out. So just a killer pitcher.
Next one, we've got the Nationals still in Atlanta. We have Kyle Wright on the mound. 6,700 for him. He has gone 65, 91, 75, and 54 pitches. He is the least efficient pitcher you will ever see. His walks are absolutely abysmal. He is averaging more than a walk per inning. 16 walks this year, 15 innings. He is averaging more than a hit per inning. 17 hits, 15 innings. That means he's allowing 2.2 base runners per inning. That's a lot. He has 2 negative fantasy point performances in his 2 outings. He does have 12 strikeouts in those 15 innings, but the pitch count doesn't allow him to get any outs. I believe, let's see, MLB, their little blurb on him said something about he was throwing 15 innings through 4 starts in 2020. He has completed more than 5 frames in just 2 of his 8 career starts. So he's probably best off as a reliever. But that's not where we are this year. So he'll be a 5% guy. Because if he can go through the Nats once, pick up a few strikeouts, get 3 innings, I'm okay with that. Because what was it? Last night we saw, I guess Monday night, every pitcher seemingly got destroyed. With the exception of 1 or 2. And I lost track. I think there were at one point 8 2-home run games, and someone said they thought there might have been 10. I didn't ever check what they were saying. That didn't feel hyperbolic at all, though, because there was a lot of them. Like, I went to bed and Mike Trout had just taken the major league lead with home runs, and then he got passed by Fernando Tatis Jr. So. And then I told you on the show that the rookie for the Nationals was the first person born in the 2000s that hit a home run. He then got a second one after that too. So
that's just unreal. Do you think the baseballs are juiced this year? Do you think they just said, what the hell, let's make it a fun 60-game sprint and just loaded up these balls? It seems like it, right?
So we learned that there's a couple stadiums that may have a humidor in addition to
I heard that too, yeah.
Arizona and Colorado. They mentioned Seattle, which I find incredibly hard to believe. They mentioned
Fenway?
City Field was one of them. So the Mets, and I don't remember what the third one was. Now I thought
it was Fenway.
It could have been Fenway. I am now convinced that since you mentioned that hey, that can also go the other direction. That's what they're doing in San Francisco. So
I like it.
We'll see.
Built in some different things to change the airflow through the park and everything.
Yeah, or they could have just changed the baseball, and there we are. And they're just going to splash them out in McCovey Cove again. So I don't know. That's why this year is. I'm trying to be ahead of the curve and figure out how I'm just, as we've talked countless times, spreading out pitching a ton, and then I'm hoping the bats carry it. Alex even said on his show tonight, and this is true most years, it's your pitchers generally don't win slates for you, it's your bats, but your pitchers can lose slates for you.
For sure. Yeah, we've all seen it for sure. And it's just making things, for me this year anyway, it's just frustrating with the pricing where it is, the broken pricing, and then these crazy 2-home run games that we're getting with seemingly juiced balls from guys that do not belong hitting 2 home runs. It's just been an interesting year. Strange for strategy. Anyway.
Yeah, back to this one. So yeah, don't really like Kyle Wright. He'll be in the mix slightly just because I need some cheap guys if I'm gonna want to go to Coors Field. Eric Fede, on the other hand, I don't know what to. I had a chance to make a Meek Mills joke and a Fede Wap joke here, and I chose apparently not to. He's making another start in place of Steven Strasburg, who is out with the some sort of nerve issue in his right hand. That doesn't sound good. So the world champion Washington Nationals are going to be without him for a little while anyway. I'm okay with Eric Fetty. I'm attacking both sides. The splits that you get on him have not been great. I would call them exploitable against righties. The wild part is his last 300 righties faced, he has a 10% walk rate and a 12% strikeout rate. That's a little too close together for me. Against his was that lefties? I'm sorry, that was lefties. I got lefties. Change one of those to righties. So that was more expected because I was like, wait, he has bad splits. But not much better. 16% strikeout against righties, 10% walk rate. He's definitely exploitable, but if he could just survive one, again, I'm going to say this a lot, one time through the order, get 3 clean innings, that saves you. Both from a money perspective on these two pitcher sides, as well as from a points perspective. So it's good, I think, that you and I do a lot of these overnight shows together because you're coming at it from the single pitcher side, of which, yeah, there's about 3 players I'd consider or 3 pitchers I'd consider on FanDuel tomorrow. Yeah. On DK, there's about 3 that aren't going to make my player pool, and the rest of them will be allowed to come in. We'll see how the lineups shake out, but I'm not going to stop them from coming in. So.
And look, that's the catch with when we talk about guys like Fede at $4,000 on DK. We're not saying Fede is going to compete with Jake DeGrom for the best start of the night. We're saying you might be able to get by with enough points for $4,000, less than most of the hitters on DraftKings, and build up with your bats. That's all we're talking about here.
Or he could have the 7th best fantasy performance, and that means the rest of the starters are behind him. And just those raw points make a difference, plus his savings and what you got with the bat. So you've got to look. This is 3D chess or 40, whatever they call everybody's playing checkers. We got to go next level and get ahead of stuff here. So that's what we got to start thinking about now. And I'll tell you what, League of Legends opened this all up to me of figuring out how the hell this works. I can't watch their game. I can't tell who's on what team and who are the good guys and who are the guys that are
what's happening at all.
Yeah, it's just,
I tried to watch some of those streams while I was playing.
It makes me dizzy and nauseous. Hey, people seem to be having fun. Knock yourselves out. It looks crowds and all these people on the stream. If you like it, good for you. I can't tell what the hell's going on. So, but playing that and having some time to start to think about the strategy and what I'm doing with projections and having no idea how I'm doing it and how to balance things and figure stuff out and knowing the handful of data sources that are out there and what's the field really going to go to and how do I counteract against that. And yeah, what I'm doing might not be optimal, but I don't want to split first place, 120 different ways. So what am I going to do a little bit differently? Because there's weirdness that seems to happen in this killing towers and barons and whatever. I'm surprised I think those are the 2 milestones they try to kill.
I purged most of that from my head. I was in there for a couple of weeks. I was playing along since I was up anyway. I was watching, but I purged most of that with jungler and
the top lane and mid and all that support lane, all that. So my point being, this is not real baseball, what we're seeing this year.
Yeah.
It's nice. I've missed it. I'm so glad it's here, but it's not the 162 games of full training camp. Now we're in August. Pitchers are now starting to make their 20th start of the year. That's not what we're seeing. This is it's not exhibition, but it's not that far off of exhibition.
Yeah, it's close to the end of spring training kind of baseball, the beginning of the season kind of baseball, just from a point of where the guys are and everything, the performance that we're seeing. So, yeah, and speaking of those kind of performances, I don't think we're really going to get a good one out of Kyle Wright. You mentioned close K and walk rate on Fede. For his career, 40.2 innings pitched. Kyle Wright has exactly 17.9% strikeout rate, 17.9% walk rate. Can't get much closer than that.
That
so,
is.
Yeah, like you said, kid's not an efficient pitcher right now. Still a good prospect for them, but I do not like going to him on either side. I think we can target some of these Nationals bats. Maybe, like you said, you get that oddball out of them, but 6,500 with some of the other cheapy options, I would keep that down around 5% and roll with that, but not much more than that on Kyle Wright.
All right, next guy up, and I'm going to play him on DK. I will be shocked if he goes more than 50 pitches. It's not an easy matchup against the White Sox, but it's Casey. I'm assuming his last name is Miz. Potentially it could be Mize, but in any event, making his debut, He is the number, I think, this is courtesy of MLB probable pitchers page. He's the number 8 prospect on MLB Pipeline's top 100 list. He has made 26 starts in the minors. He has not pitched above Double A. He does have a Double A no hitter, and they comment on how he had a good spring training, was dominant when they came back for summer camp, and they point out that his splitter is a devastating out pitch. He's going against a very tough lineup. I believe Yasmani Grandal probably will be out of this lineup, so that's one key hitter that's out. He's been dinged up. I don't think he's officially been put on the DL or the injured list yet, but for the price, for what we've got in store, and for 2 pitcher sites, I want to roll the dice with this kid's electric stuff.
Yeah, and I think we can. I think it's a good spot. You know, the White Sox are a killer lineup, but there are strikeouts in this lineup, and he's that kind of a pitcher. You mentioned the splitter. He works that splitter. It's like mid-80s it comes in, so it acts like a changeup. The splitter's generally a slower, I know it's called a fastball, but it's generally a slower pitch. It's a change of speed with the sinking motion to it. So he works a 94, 96 mile an hour four-seamer, and then he drops it down to the mid to low 80s with that splitter. And he just gets, like you said, it's a devastating pitch, gets a ton of swing and miss on it. So I like the kid a lot. He's projecting pretty well for me. I've got his minor league stats plugged into my model here, so it's a little wonky. But at only 6,600, I can justify a little bit of it on FanDuel even with the projection I'm getting. And at 4K on DraftKings, I think it's a good play. I think he's. I would definitely rather have him even against the White Sox lineup than Eric Fetting. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he pitched 3 years for Auburn. His last 2 seasons, that's in the FCC. Last 2 seasons, he had 30 appearances. 29 were starts. 200 innings. He had a 12 strikeout per 9 in the SEC. They're not bad teams there in the SEC. And then his minor league numbers are a little lower, 8.8, but then the walk rate's kind of high, but there allows no power. Yeah. Which just shows that he's got good stuff. So willing to roll the dice. He's 23 years old. This is, again, first time he's gone above Double A, and he's going
top
against
10 overall draft pick, right?
He was chosen in the first round,
like 6th.
He was first.
Oh, he was first. Okay,
he was first overall in the 2018 draft by Tigers.
Obviously, high-end pedigree kid. Do we know if he's related to Hall of Famer Johnny Meese?
Ooh, let's see.
Love those second-generation guys. And while you're looking at that, I plugged in Ross Detweiler as a pitcher for the White Sox just because nobody came up and I couldn't find who was supposed to pitch. He's got kind of long manish, so maybe he opens. I don't know when he last pitched. I needed it to pop up so I could get some numbers here. So that's what put in. If it happens to be Ross Detweiler, he's stopped throwing he's throwing a slider now, not a cutter anymore. And says his sinker is working again. He's currently sitting 98th percentile in xWOBA, 69th in exit velo allowed, 57th percentile in hard hit, generating 51% ground balls, only 14% strikeout for his career, 8.2% walk, 103 home run per 9. So he's a guy who keeps the ball in the yard, generates a lot of ground balls. Have no idea if he's actually going to be pitching, but if he's out there, 6,800 on DK, maybe you roll a couple. Not many, but a couple. Tigers aren't very good. Tigers against the lefty, I can justify some of their bats here as well, if that's who pitches.
So no relation.
No relation.
I can tell. Yep.
All right.
But he is engaged, I think.
Oh, well, congratulations to him.
Yeah. It might be married now. That was in May of 2018. So there we go. We'll see. Google. It's a wonderful thing. Back to the task at hand, continuing through the slate. Milwaukee at Minnesota. In theory, Rich Hill coming off, wait for it, the injured list. Who would have thought that? This time it's a sore shoulder. He went 68 pitches in his last appearance. It's, I'm not that excited by him. At some point, his arm is going to fall off on the mound. Who was that? Was that Draybeck? Doug Draybeck, something like that. Anyway, broke his arm throwing a pitch.
That sounds familiar.
30 years ago, 25 years ago. On the other side,
I can picture it now.
Yeah, on the other side we have Brett Anderson. Not very exciting either. These teams both are good against lefties. These are 5 to 10% guys, hoping they don't go negative. They both have the potential to go negative on DK. There's my rousing endorsement.
Yeah, look, Hill is a guy that when he's healthy, he's capable. He's decent strikeout pitcher over the course of his career, 25.4% strikeout, 9.5% walk. So he definitely allows some opportunities. Career whip is 1.22. So I mean, it's not tragic that he's putting guys on base.
He's 40, by the way.
And he's right.
He's a man. He's 40.
He's he's on the back end of his career. He's hurt all the time. He's coming off of an injury. It's just not a good story to go to. Leave the numbers aside on this one. I just don't like it as that in that spot. Anderson, I can maybe justify a little bit more. He's generating 68% ground balls in 2020. It's tops in the league. Not a strikeout guy. He's given up more home runs the last 2 years. His career home run per 9 is still 0.89 though, so keeps the ball in the yard decently. Only 16.2% strikeout for his career, so not a big strikeout guy. In 2019, he was throwing his his sinker 62% of the time. He brought that down to 50% of the time. He's throwing his changeup more. Not getting a ton of swing and misses on any of it. Only 7th percentile in hard hit, 19th percentile in xWOBA, 7th percentile in whiff rate, 38th percentile in barrels. It's not a great story. It is a cheap price. I think we can justify some of it on DK. Not to crazy degrees. I would rather have the Twins bats. Even at 59, I don't want to do it on FanDuel.
All right, let's move along. And just for another perspective, this is his 17th year in the league. Through his other 16 seasons, he's averaging 52 innings pitched.
Oh my God.
He's been hurt a lot. Feel bad for him. So I was all excited to roll with some Framber Valdez until I realized this game was going to be in Coors Field. So we have Houston in Coors Field. On the other side, you've got Ryan Castellini. Castellini, 88 and 60 pitches. He is 4,900. How he is so cheap, I don't know, when guys like Steven Brault and Brett Anderson and other guys are still expensive, and they shouldn't be because they're not throwing nearly the pitch count of this. This is a tough one. He's 4,900. I am not going to cross either of these pitchers out of my player pool. This will be like a 5 to 10%. The reason I'm okay doing that is I have a feeling a lot of people are going to go to Coors Field, as they should. It is going to be 88 at first pitch. We've got a 7.2 implied run total right now. These are just the overnight totals, so they're implied. They're not at betting lines. These are just other sites that kind of post the general direction. They're usually close, but sometimes they're a little off. 7.2 implied run total right now for Houston. 5.4 for the Rockies. That Houston one's a little high. I thought it would be like 6.5 or 6.7 overnight. It's hard to get up to 7, even though we've got the DH, lather, rinse, repeat, all of this stuff. I'm still okay playing these guys. Let's remember back to the last Coors homestand. Most of the runs didn't come till the second half of the game. Your pitchers sort of survived. Nobody's going to them, and you just kind of have a little bit of leverage. That's what I'm going to hope for these guys. I do not expect them to shut down the other team, but there is a chance they can get through their portion of the game relatively unscathed.
I don't disagree with that. For the prices, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's all about the prices. That's
right.
It.
Exactly. And it's more DK based as we're talking about this. I don't think I would want to pay $7,800 for Framber on FanDuel. One of the reasons behind that being his main out pitch is his curveball. Is throwing it 29% of the time. We know the curve has issues at Coors Field. It's a pitch that can hang easily there. Young kid, not experienced pitching at that altitude. That concerns me a little bit. He does pound the zone with his fastball, brings the fastball at 93 miles an hour. He's good pitcher. He's down not the greatest contact numbers right now. Bottom of the league in hard hit, bottom of the league in exit velo. So the ball's traveling too when guys are making contact. So not the greatest mix for Coors, but again, at those prices, that's what we're playing here. So I can definitely endorse him going at a minor deployment on DK. Castellani, I don't really like the pitcher that much, but he's getting it done. He's the home pitcher, so there's a little advantage. You would think that he's got a little bit more experience pitching in the environment. He doesn't really rely on a curveball. He's more a slider changeup mix with a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Sitting 48th percentile in xWOBA, so around league average in xWOBA allowed, but also getting hit hard. Second percentile in exit velo, third percentile in hard hit rate. Has been good in the minors at limiting home run power. It was around a mid-teens guy in strikeout rate in the minors. So I don't love it, but again, as a discount price kind of a play on DK, we can justify it. We can get there. I wouldn't play either pitcher on
Yeah, yeah, and that good call out to just keep reminding that my theories are playing a lot of lineups and going in at lower buy-ins to do said lineups and mixing and matching, and that's kind of the Awesemo way of doing it. I do not do it across every contest and in all of the nosebleed contests, but I run a similar strategy. I do mine in a lot of the smaller field tournaments and leagues, and if they're all the same, like the example I like to use is FanDuel, because that's something they've far outpaced DK on, but they pump out those 100, I forget what they are, 100 or 110 person contests, totally winnable. It pays like, they change it every now and then, but it either pays top 10 or top 12, and it's a nice payout structure. Yeah. And if you just enter a bunch of those, it's like entering a big tournament. You can, and they pump out the $1 and the $5 ones literally all day. And you can get in there and build your lineups across that. And because it's the same payout structure, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you're not going to have a 5-figure night, but you're also getting a much better payout structure than everybody else. And they're winnable contests. Your 1% lineup in a 100-person contest is probably going to come in first, second, or third. And you're going to get, I forget what the payouts is. Last year's was like 25, 10, and 9 or something like that. They were not super top heavy, but you got a nice return. Those are winnable. That same 1% lineup in a contest with 10,000 entries, you may finish in the top 100. You're probably going to double or triple your money. Right. Okay, why? Which is better? Trust me, it's the other ones. So.
Yeah, and those contests are great. They're winnable contests. They're things that I always talk about, and it's usually when I hear you bring them up, because I'm like, God, he's so right. Why don't I play more of those? Because they're easy. I mean, they're contests. I think they're 3 max for the most part.
Yeah, 3 max usually.
So you get a ton of just the groupthink effect, where everybody's saying, all right, I'm just playing these high-end guys, and a lot of people treat it almost like a cash lineup, where they're just playing the top end of everything. So if you're just going down a couple spots in the stack tool, you're already different. If you're playing an offbeat pitcher, you're already different. And we all know how those lineups can perform in baseball, and they shoot right to the top of the standings in those tournaments. So, yeah, I like that strategy.
All right. Lance Lynn coming off a complete game, 1 run allowed, or 1 earned run allowed in Coors Field. Hey, it can happen. 110 pitches, 109, 107, 102. Not the easiest matchup against San Diego, because, those guys don't follow the unwritten rules of baseball. I'm willing to pay $9,200 for him, but it's going to cost me some Coors Field bats. I do like the performance. It's hard to see him not going 100 pitches. Weird stuff can happen. He did go 110 in his last outing, but again, 110, 109, 107, 102. This isn't like he was 80, 85, and they let him roll for the complete game. He's up there. He's stretched out. This is a worthwhile play. On the other side, I'm curious your take on Chris Paddock. I think I was reading something. I think there's been like 8 total home runs so far in Texas with the roof closed. It's like it's become quite the pitcher's park with the roof closed, unless there's a secret humidor we don't know about. Right. But anyway, is the Texas lineup, are they slumping? Is it a fact of home field, or what are they going to do against Chris Paddock? Because Chris Paddock is 7,700. That feels like a nice spot. He only went 52 pitches in his last outing, but prior to that, 95, 88, 89. They also pushed him back. They didn't. This is from the ESPN players. They didn't really say what was going on with Paddock, but reading into the lines here, San Diego was kind of moving people around. Remember that we thought it was going to be Luis Perdomo was going to start, and then he ended up pitching in the game the night before, and Inoa did the same thing. I think like for Miami or Husquero, whatever it was, or Atlanta, whatever it was. So we're trying to figure out, who's doing what. They're mixing and matching on the fly. There's no real built-in off days this season. So when you're trying to move your rotation around, it's hard. Some of the teams are consciously trying to go with 6-man rotations. That's why we're seeing a lot more openers and all of this. So I don't think there was an issue. He could have just had a tweak, didn't warm up well, had a bad throwing side session, whatever it might have been. So I don't think there's anything to be concerned about with him, but we don't know for sure what occurred.
Yeah, and I was poking around a little bit in Statcast, and it didn't look like anything has really changed in the repertoire. It didn't look like anything's off. So unless he's pitching hurt, not saying anything, or it's something that we don't know about, like you're kind of getting at, it was most likely just a weird thing. Pitchers are weird sometimes. Maybe somebody spoke to him in the clubhouse and he doesn't like that before a start and he felt jinxed. Who knows? It's a pitcher I really like in general. He's been excellent since coming into the league. He has allowed 7 home runs so far in 2020, which is a minor blip. Home runs are weird sometimes. So I'm not too concerned about it, but that could also be some kind of a sign about what's going on with him. Currently sitting 12th percentile in xWOBA against, 26th in exit velo allowed, 11th in hard hit rate. So giving up some good contact. The home run per 9 is a little ugly now. It's up to 162 after he's given up those 2020 homers. But that's only 166 innings pitched in his career. He's got a 26% strikeout rate, only a 5.2% walk rate. I like the pitcher. I like the spot. You asked if what's going on with the Texas lineup. Are they slumping?
16 home runs. They're the second. The only team lower than them are the Cardinals, who have 12 and didn't play for 16 days.
Ouch. Yeah, I think the answer there might just be that this team isn't any good, though. It might not be a slump. It might just be a lack of overall talent. I mean, Joey Gallo's a masher. We know that. I've mentioned Elvis
He
Andrus.
Has 6 of the home runs.
After home runs. So, I mean, I like a couple of the guys in this lineup, but there's a lot of holes. I mean, Willie Calhoun is a world beater. He's going to be an excellent hitter. He only strikes out around 16% of the time. But Joey Gallo strikes out like 36% of the time. When he's not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, he's most likely going to strike out. Jeff Mathis down at the bottom, if he's in this lineup, this might be an old projected lineup I'm looking at. But you have a bunch of guys. Ruben Odor strikes out 28% of the time. Shin-Soo Choo, as good as he is, strikes out 25% of the time. So there's case here for Paddock, and there's not too much danger. I don't worry about the spot. I think we can go to him pretty strong here. Only 8,100 on FanDuel. He's in play for me on FanDuel. I really like that price on DK. Makes a lot of sense. On the other side, I think Lynn is definitely a great spot, definitely a target for me. He's all the way up to 9,700 on FanDuel. Maybe people go in different directions at that price tier, but I'm getting a great projection on him. I agree. I think he's going to go over 100 pitches, assuming he doesn't get totally lit up. He's been killing it in 2020 so far. 87th percentile in xWOBA, 82nd in exit velo, 67th hard hit, 81st in barrels, 88th in x slugging. So, I mean, lights out pitching so far this year. 23.4% strikeout rate, pretty good strikeout rate for his career. Only 0.81 home runs per 9 allowed for his career, so keeps the ball in the yard. Just really, really like the pitcher. So I think we can definitely roll out a good amount of Lance Lynn. Padres lineup is good. There are definitely some hitters to worry about in it. Some of them can limit the strikeouts, but we've got a lot of Ks, even in a star like Fernando Tatis up top. Will Myers strikes out around 31% of the time. So there are strikeouts in this lineup, and the back end of the lineup gets kind of weak. So I think we can definitely go to Lynn here.
Yeah. For perspective, the Orioles, 32 home runs, the Mets 30, the Tigers 28, the Royals 28, the Giants 28, Texas 16.
That's unreal.
Just throwing it out there.
If they're not careful, Anthony Santander is going to pass them by himself.
It is in play. It is in play. All right, 3 games to go. We're into our 9 o'clock or 9:40 slate. We've got Merrill Kelly taking on the Oakland Athletics. We've got Jesus Luzardo on the other side. Luzardo has gone 72, 89, 76, and 67 pitches. He is 8,200. He's in the picture here. Merrill Kelly has had a couple nice outings. I guess it will bookended with his first start and his last start on the season. 1.7 ERA, 22 strikeouts in 26 innings. He's just looked good all the way around. 9,500. The Lizard King, not the best track record. Did he come back from the Japan leagues, or was he one of the Korean league guys? I'm losing track of all the other players, but
he's got character. I think those are Japanese characters. I don't want to make that call completely, but he's got them on Fangraphs next to his name. I think that's Japanese, not Korean characters, but I'm not 100% sure. Here we go. Now I can scroll. He was in the KBO. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He was with the SK Wyverns of the KBO for four
years. Yep, 4 seasons. So he's been in. Came back in 2019. So basically, so he's got a real interesting story, and I'm doing this one from memory. But he was like a relatively high draft pick, if I remember. So he was 8th round, 16th pick overall. Had a nice little contract. Never made it above AAA for the Rays. They just outright released him. Didn't even try to trade him. We're just like, whatever. This isn't working out. He started and worked their way up through the minors. Made AAA for his last 2 seasons there, and they're just like, yeah, we're good. That's weird for the Rays to do. And he's like, well, I'd rather have a contract. And then he went over to the KBO. He pitched 4 years in the KBO, came back with the Diamondbacks last year, and they're like, hey, we'll give you a chance. And he was a much better pitcher. Not great strikeout stuff, but not bad. Decent ground ball rate. And it's like, okay, well, you found this guy. But we want to remember, he started with the Rays in 2010. It's 2020 now. That's a long time. What we're seeing is what we're getting. And we know it's a dangerous Oakland lineup there without Ramon Laureano, who's still, I think he's just finishing up his suspension now. And they had somebody else who was dinged up. But there's some strikeouts there. So I'm okay on either side of this. This one is in Oakland. The weather is going to be, it's going to be a 640 local start. It is going to be in the mid 60s. So all of this is lining up for me to be willing to take a chance on him. I'm not pushing the chips in the middle of the table. Oakland does have a 4.9 implied run total.
Yeah, I like Kelly in general. The one thing that concerns me is the home run per 9, particularly to right-handed hitters. It's 171 over these last 2 years to right-handed hitters, and we know that the A's have a lot of righty power in that lineup. You got Marcus Semien, Matt Chapman to roll through. Even Chris Davis hasn't been Chris Davis, but he's still capable in the back end of that lineup. Piscotty is capable of taking one out. So there's some, and Mark Canha's in there as well. So there's some righties to worry about in that lineup. A lot of good guys with power, and then you've got a Matt Olson on the other side of the plate. He's not that much better overall. His home run per 9 is 142. But I do like the stuff. I do like the pitcher. He's around league average in most of the StatCast categories, like 40th, 50th percentile. So not tragic, not too crazy great, but I think he could have a nice game here. Not getting the greatest projection in the world for him. I would expect actually better. So I'll take a look at that as the night goes on. 8,900 on FanDuel. I think I can do a little bit better than this spot for most of the pitchers on FanDuel. What was the DK price for some reason?
I want to say it was 95.
Okay.
But so let's talk about the nice. It looks like either a 3 or a 4 game late slate there for DK. He will be in the player pool for me there.
Yeah, I think on a shorter slate, absolutely. You're gonna have limited options and definitely gonna have to go to him. And he is a good pitcher. Again, this is a pitcher I do like. So it's a little bit to do with the Oakland bats going against him and some of those split numbers that's bringing his projection down for me. But it's a pitcher I think we can get to on DK and have at least a little bit of faith in. Maybe roll him out 10% cap at that price on the main slate, something like that. Luzardo on the other side, kid, I'm really looking forward to his career. Just an excellent prospect of a kid. He's one of those guys who's got different pitch categorizations on depending on which site you're looking at. But I think Brooks has it right. From what I've seen, it's like a 12-6 curveball that he throws, not a slider, which is what Savant has it categorized at. So I'm calling it a curveball. He's 73rd percentile in whiff rate so far this year. Only 36th percentile in xWOBA, 41st percentile in hard hits. So giving up a little quality contact. But just a dynamite pitcher. Works with a sinking fastball 56% of the time, and he throws it 96 miles an hour. So a 96-mile-an-hour sinker down to a big looping 12-6 curveball is just devastating stuff. He was high 20s or higher K percentage through every stop of the minors, and he kind of breezed through their minor league system in like a year and a half. So kid I really, really like. I think 7,300 for him on FanDuel is a pretty good price. Diamondbacks aren't a team I love to attack with pitching, but I think I can get to some of them here on FanDuel. Not sure, again, another guy for some reason these last few games aren't popping up the DK pricing on my spreadsheet here, but what's his DK price?
For which one?
Luzardo?
Luzardo is 8,200.
Yeah, so I can justify that over on DK as well at that price. I think we take some shares of him, maybe roll him out 10-15% and just take what you get. Don't go too crazy with it. But I think we could see a nice sneaky little start from the kid. Hopefully they give him enough leash, which would be my one question. But I think if he's going well, we see at least 5 innings.
All right, today's show is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, the most trusted name in fantasy sports. Yahoo DFS now includes CSV upload and CSV edit features for those looking to play multiple lineups. Make better choices. Choose Yahoo Daily Fantasy. See, I can do it that way too.
What a pro. Just nice, slick, easy read.
All right, 2 to go. Everybody's laughing or throwing their phone/mobile device across the room. You're welcome. Julio Urias going against Taijuan Walker. Walker is 7,000 on DK. It is the Dodgers, but hey, they had trouble with Marco Gonzalez tonight. Who knows what's going to happen with Taijuan Walker? I do like Urias. He is expensive, and I don't know what to do with the Mariners. Are they good? Are they not good? I've been saying smoke and mirrors. They have been like the variance team. Crappy pitchers, they suck. Good pitchers, or relatively good pitchers for what we've seen, aka Ross Stripling, all of a sudden they're world beaters. I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. And then their mediocre pitchers go out and they're lights out and strike out 9 Dodgers and put up the biggest, as of last time I checked, the biggest score on the night on FanDuel with Marco. So I don't think Taijuan's going to do that tomorrow, but I didn't think Marco was going to do it today. I guess we have to at least consider Taijuan. He's 7,500 on FanDuel. I'm not getting a good projection on him, mostly to do with the opponent. 68 on DK. Maybe you roll out a little bit of him over there. 21.3% strikeout rate for his career, 7.4 walks. He's allowed 1.34 home run per 9 to lefty hitters over his career. We know there's some deadly lefties on that Dodgers lineup with the Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger. So, a couple guys to look out for. Jock Peterson as well. It's tough to justify for me. He's got a good cutter that he throws 21% of the time, generating 24% whiff on it. He's only threw it 8% of the time in 2018, so it's kind of a new pitch for him. Might be making some of the difference that we've seen for him here. Dicey for me though. I don't trust him yet. And against this Dodgers team, I think it's too big of a test for me to roll out on FanDuel. Other side, totally love Urias in this spot. I think Urias. I think that my Cuban grandmother would hate me for pronouncing that Urias or whatever I just said. But I got the Louis Robert pronunciation right this morning.
Abuelito, lo siento.
And for whoever was around for the strategy show, I assure you that it is Luis Robert, not Robert. Anyway.
Is it really?
He's Cuban. It's Robert. I linked to a video where he pronounces it for the media and everything. So, I think we can roll Urias out here a lot. 7,900 on FanDuel. I love that price for this kid on FanDuel. I do not believe in this Mariners lineup. I know we've seen good things from him. They're rallying around rookie Kyle Lewis and everything that he brings to the game. I do think he's a good player. I'm glad to see he overcame a couple devastating injuries in the minors. But I just don't think that there's much in this lineup. You look down the lineup, Evan White, Shed Long, D. Gordon, even Austin Nola is like, who are we talking about here? So I'm not worried about those guys against this pitcher. Throws a 94-mile-an-hour heater 60% of the time, 88th percentile spin rate on that pitch, so just a dynamite fastball pitch. Gets a lot of swing and miss with his fastball. 85-mile-an-hour change, and he's also got a curveball slider. Gets around 25% swing and miss on some of those on his breaking balls. So just a really, really good pitcher. I think there are a lot of strikeouts waiting for him here. We know that the Mariners get most of their power on the left side of the plate. I feel like I've said that the last couple of nights about lefties going against these guys. But, hey, I think he shuts them down. I think he puts up a nice start here.
All right, last game of the night. I don't know what to do with it, but I do want to present the fact that this one is in San Francisco. And San Francisco, through, I think it's 9 home games now, their average run total is 12.7 combined for the game. That is Coors Field levels. They changed their park a tiny bit. They moved their bullpens to the center field area. It shortened Triple's Alley by about 8 or 9 feet, brought in center field by about 6 or 7, and then left field a little bit by about 4 feet. That's it. That's not dramatic changes. They also have a patio area out in the outfield now. We are seeing home runs that don't really look like home runs, and we are seeing a ton of runs scored. Oddly, a lot of it happens in the 8th inning. I don't know. This is very small sample size. Are they doing something with the baseballs? Is it the reconstruction of the stadium? I don't know, but we do have Johnny Cueto on the mound. I want to say again, this is not a jam in Johnny Cueto as your SP2 spot. He's in play. He's 5,600 on DK, and he's going to throw about 100 pitches. We are going against the Angels. There is a DH everywhere now, so it's not like the pitcher's going to be hitting. So we're going to get, the usual suspects there for the Angels. This is, do you want to pivot off Coors Field? Here's your spot to go. And I don't think people are on this yet. It's probably just noise. But Terry, come on. It's getting absurd at this point. The runs that are just being put up in these games.
It's the new Coors Field. Did San Francisco shoot up like 1,000 extra feet above sea level and I didn't hear about it or something? What's going on? This is crazy. What I'm curious about with some of those dimensions changes that you mentioned, one we didn't talk about is if they did anything with the height of the wall. I remember when Yankee Stadium, when they built the new Yankee Stadium, everybody was talking about the short porch and right and how it was Big Homer Park and they moved the wall in and everything. And I remember then what I heard was for every foot of height that you take the wall down, it's equivalent to, I think it was 3 or 4 feet of moving the wall in. So they reduced that wall. If you remember the Jeffrey Mayer play, remember Tony Tarasco looking up and it was several feet up above his head when that kid caught the ball. Now a guy can reach up and reach over that wall in right field in Yankee Stadium. So lowering those walls does have an effect. So I'd just be curious with those dimensions changes if they did anything with that, and maybe that's having an additional effect. As far as Cueto goes, it's weird to say in 2020, but I think he can maybe get away with it. He's kind of getting it done. It's a little bit illusory. It's a little bit with smoke and mirrors. He's not a good pitcher by any means. He's walking around 10% of guys, but his contact numbers are pretty good. He's 74th percentile hard hit rate, 60th percentile in xWOBA, 52nd exit velo. He's only getting 19th percentile in whiff rate. He's not getting any swing and miss. He doesn't throw his slider anymore. His slider used to be at 25% usage his entire career, and now he's barely throwing it at all, like literally not at all. So he's really just getting by with 29% curveball, 27% changeup, and then a fastball. He's kind of getting it done. Over the last 3 years, his home run per 9 has been concerning, 134, 136, and 169 last year. But that's a total of only around 200 innings pitched, and we know he's been dealing with injuries in and out all over the place. Certainly not a good pitcher anymore. I don't know that you have to be excellent to pitch against this Angels team. There are a couple very scary bats in there, but there are a couple kind of clunker bats in there as well. So I think at a cheap price, you can get away with Johnny. I don't want to pitch him on FanDuel, even though I'm getting an okay projection, even though he's only 69. Not a play I trust over there, but maybe as part of the pool on DK, I could see it. Sandoval on the other side, not a kid I love. I know he's a pitcher that some people go to, and he's somewhat popular and did decently well in DFS last year. Only 7,000 on FanDuel. I'm getting a better projection for him than I was for Cueto, so I could justify it a little bit more. But it's not a pitcher I really like either. He's 4th percentile in exit velo right now, league average 50th exactly in xWOBA rather, and 30th in the hard hit rate. Works around 93 miles an hour with the fastball. He's got an okay slider, okay changeup, 23.4% strikeout rate, walks too many guys, around 10% walks, 146 homers per 9 in his major league career so far. He did limit home runs in the minors. It was around 0.5 home run per 9 in the minors, but not a guy I love to roll out yet. So not a guy I'm going to attack with Giants bats either, unless we can definitely nail down that this is like a hitter's park now. But bats-wise, I would probably lean more into the Angel side of things.
All right. That is going to do it for us. Reminder, we do have that promo code MAMBA that will get you 1 week of Awesemo NBA content. So you got to sign up for the weekly subscription. That will be $8.24. Remember, Kobe Bryant, the number's 8 and 24. That is good through Mamba Day, which is August 24th. With that, gamers, good luck.